Rachel. Welcome to another lesson here on 21st Century Literature from the Philippines and the world. I am Jasper Angeles, joining you once again in the next hour in discovering the treasures of contemporary literature. Before we begin, make sure that you have a pen and a notebook. Jot down notes while listening. Last meeting, we began our discussion of 21st century texts, the first being an excerpt of a novel written by a Filipino writer. What is the title of this excerpt? Correct. It is Lengua para Diablo from the novel Banana Heart Summer by Merlinda Bobis. In our discussion, we emphasized that more than its ability to exquisitely describe lengua as a dish, the novel exposes the issue of social class and the plight of those who are in the lower or working class. We said that lengua represents the upper social class and that power, privilege, and comfort are all for the upper social class. We did not invent these claims, on the other hand. These things were the ones we have deduced from analyzing the text using contexts. I hope that by now you have developed the ability to use context in interpreting literary texts. Remember that as a critical student of literature, you don't only appreciate the text that you read. You likewise look for social issues placed under the limelight by the writer through his or her work. I know that you are more than ready to listen to another critical discussion of literature. Before that, of course, I want you to guess the title of the movie from which these pictures came from. Look at them. What do you think? Where have you seen them? What is the real name of this woman and this man? How about their fictional names? Alright, this woman is actually Catherine Bernardo, who played the character Joy in the movie, while the man is Alden Richards, who played Ethan. They were the main characters of the movie Hello, Love, Goodbye. It is a 2019 Philippine romantic drama film directed by Cathy Garcia Molina and produced by Star Cinema. The film follows Joy Fabregas, a struggling overseas Filipino worker, and Ethan Del Rosario, a bartender, as they attempt to reconcile their personal careers and love for each other in Hong Kong. More than the love story, on the other hand, I'd like to emphasize the realities of being a Filipino OFW in this movie. What do we mean by the word OFW? Correct. It means overseas Filipino workers. They refer to all Filipinos who went to foreign countries to work. Majority of them become DH. What do we mean by DH? Write your answer on the comment section, class. Correct. It means domestic helper. These DH Filipinos work as a maid in the homes of foreigners. What do you think is the reason why they end up like this? Okay, I sense that several answers are conceiving in your head right now. To help you with that, let us see this short clip from the movie. Let's watch it. Now let's hear my question again. What is the reason why Filipinos choose to be OFWs or to be DH in foreign countries? Alright, you've heard it from Joy, to support their families. They support them because they love their families. They, the OFWs, take the responsibility on their shoulders. They do not have a very happy life there, grade 12. If you have a relative working abroad, do not think that they are just sauntering around the streets of New York, of Milan, or of Hong Kong. They are working so that they can provide for their families or because they want to give their families a better life. Is Joy a college graduate? Okay, I think we have heard her say that she was. In the film, you'll also discover that she graduated as a nurse. But in order to eke out a living, she has to work as a DH in Hong Kong. Now, I'm not saying that Joy, our main character in the movie, is related with the protagonist of the literary piece we are about to discuss. DH or OFW, like Joy, were the ones observed by the protagonist in the excerpt of Turban Legend by or from Leche by R. Zamora Linmar. Before we proceed with the discussion, here again is our objective class. Remember that at the end of all of our discussions, you as a literary critic must be able to write a critical essay on one of these texts. It depends on your subject teacher how he or she will give you that activity. Of course, when you write a critical paper, you use an approach or these contexts. Alright, so these ones have already been repeatedly discussed, right? Now, let's go back to the Turban Legend by R. Zamora Linmar. Like Lengua para Diablo, Turban Legend is an excerpt or a portion of a novel. Here we have Leche by R. Zamora Linmar. The novel tells the story of a Philippine-born Vince de los Reyes as he faces the trials and surprises awaiting him upon his return to his home country after spending 13 years in Hawaii. Filipino migrants are often known as balikbayans, a distinction Vince finds as soon as he reaches Philippine customs that is fraught with political and cultural implications. Having won a contest, Vince has returned to free accommodations and fanfare, but is not prepared for the heat, politics, and eccentric characters that accompany life in Manila. Witty and mesmerizing, this novel explores the complex colonial and cultural history of the Philippines and the paradoxes inherent in the search for both personal and national identities. So, okay, the Vince that we have as protagonist is also a balikbayan observing his fellow balikbayans, OFWs who are in the departure area waiting for their flights back to Manila. With the descriptions used by the narrator of the novel, we can say that Turban Legend shows that Filipinos are indeed family-oriented people. People who would do anything for their families. Now, of course, this point remains to be an empty idea if we do not have evidences to support it. To give this some meat, we shall once again be using our knowledge of contexts. Let's begin with the biographical context. What does our knowledge of the writer tell us about how OFWs or balikbayans were described in this excerpt? Class, here is R. Zamora Linmar, the author of Leche, from which we find Turban Legend. R. Zamora Linmar was born in Manila. He is a poet, novelist, and playwright who earned his undergraduate degree in Hawaii. You can also see here that he has lived in Honolulu, Madrid, and Tokyo. Alright, he is not necessarily an OFW, but we're sure that he was able to observe a lot of events when he was still in Honolulu, like seeing balikbayans pack up and check in their luggages, which turned out to be boxes. With this information, we can say that the author's experiences might have influenced the writing of the piece. Like Merlinda Bobis, the writer of Lengua para Diablo, R. Zamora Linmar has written about something that he must have seen about Filipinos who are this time OFWs. Now, to further prove that indeed Filipinos are family-oriented people, we will use these two contexts, the linguistic and literary contexts. Using literary context, class, we know that these are the elements that we are free to use in analyzing the text. Why these? Because in terms of genre, the literary piece we are reading is a novel. Again, we cannot look at the plot or the excerpt tells us only of the initial portions of the novel. As you all know, a novel contains multiple plots, so to talk about that would be ambitious for us. As for the characters, the only character accessible to us is Vince, the person who observed the setting which is Honolulu International Airport in Hawaii, which in the novel or in the excerpt was full of Filipinos carrying around their boxes. We can discuss the POV or point of view and the importance of that POV. We can talk about social-cultural issues instead of the theme of the piece. Alright, so we have limitations because this is a short piece. Nevertheless, we can still see some evidences to support our claim. Let's begin with the point of view of the excerpt. Let me read this initial point in the excerpt. Let's begin. By the time Vince arrives at the Philippine Airlines departure terminal, it is already bustling with restless souls who, with their balikbayan boxes, have transformed the terminal into a warehouse, as if they're returning to the motherland on a cargo ship rather than the Asia's first airline carrier. Now, based on this first point, what do you think is the point of view of the literary text? Correct. It is third-person omniscient point of view. Why this point of view? What linguistic evidences support this answer? Right. The use of third-person pronouns like their and they are manifestations that the point of view is indeed in third person. What is the importance of this point of view to our claim a while ago? Class, didn't we say that Filipinos are family-oriented people? To prove these using evidences, the source of observations must be a reliable narrator. The third-person omniscient point of view is the most objective and trustworthy viewpoint because an all-knowing narrator is telling the story. It does not have biases because it operates as an outsider looking in person, unlike the first-person narrator who can or would be able to be one of the characters in the piece. Their thoughts might influence them in the description of things they see. Alright, so at least we know that the excerpt was narrated objectively. Let us proceed with the setting, the physical setting of the piece. Going back to this point in the excerpt, which item mentioned here is the one related with Filipinos? Comment your answer, class. Which word, which item was related with Filipinos? Okay, the balikbayan boxes. If there is a picture to reflect this in, I think that this would be the picture. The best picture that I can give for the description. I think that this one is actually mild, for the narrator told us that there were piles of boxes, all of which are owned by OFWs who would go back to Manila. Everywhere Vince turns are boxes. Boxes and more boxes. Boxes secured by electrical tape and ropes, an exhibit that should take place none other than here at the Honolulu International Airport, he laughs, as he imagines an entire terminal buried in the Filipinos' most popular and preferred pieces of luggage. In this part of the excerpt, Filipinos have been related once again with their boxes, which were even more termed here as their most important or popular and preferred pieces of luggage. What do these boxes contain and what for? Alright, if you are Filipino, you would know, but of course, we're pretending to be a person who has not known this culture in the Philippines. So let's see the contents of the boxes here. With the balikbayan box, Filipinos can pack cans of Hormel corned beef, Libis Vina sausage, Folgers, and Spam. Perfume samples, new or hand-me-down designer jeans, travel-sized bottles of shampoo, conditioner, and body lotion gleaned from Las Vegas hotels, and appliances marked with first world labels. Why do they take these things home? Again, socioculturally, we'd know the reason. But I think if you are someone who has not been acquainted to this culture, looking at the last part of the excerpt would give you an idea as to why they pack their boxes with these things and why they come home bearing all of these. Filipinos will even throw themselves into these boxes, as was the case of the overseas contract worker in Dubai. It's not the mechanics that matter, it's about the drama. The extremes a Filipino will go to just to get back home or just to be back home for Christmas with his family. Alright, in this part, we were introduced to the idea that Filipinos who are in this case OFWs come home with boxes bearing imported goods for their families. It's like your classical stories of a poor family whose mother carries with her things that her children can eat. They would really do everything for their families, and I think everyone would agree to the idea that Turban legend, that story about a Filipino throwing himself in a box for him to get home, is not only a legend or nonsense, but a symbol of sacrifice Filipinos are willing to do for their families. Why do they do this? We just go back to what Catherine Bernardo say in the clip. They have no choice. They can either stay in the Philippines and starve or put on some determination to seek jobs in the lands of greener pasture. This brings us to the sociocultural issues present in the excerpt. Filipinos living for better lives result in what we term as Filipino diaspora or the scattering of Filipinos around the world. Now, is that something positive or negative? Positive because they're able to support their families in the Philippines, but negative at one point because the increasing trend of migrant workers signifies a large-scale human capital flights, also known as brain drain, which would greatly affect the progress and development of our country. Though this is the case, Filipinos still choose to go to other countries not only for themselves but also for their families. Using context, we were able to once again support our claim about the literary piece that we have just read. These things we see at foreign airports and at our own Manila airport would most probably persist for a long time. These are the choices they make for their families. May we look at the excerpt Turban Legend as a literary piece that wakes us up from the idea that OFWs are living a comfortable life in those foreign countries. Contrary to the common belief that they have a lot of money, these OFWs would not have worked there if they had. OFWs and their boxes will always symbolize the sacrifice they're willing to do for their families. Next meeting, we shall discuss another literary text, this time a monologue. It is entitled Waiting by Ron Darvin. How similar is Turban Legend to Waiting? We'll see that on our next live stream session. For now, please do read or reread the excerpt and be prepared on our follow-up discussion. Once again, this is Jasper Angeles, your live stream teacher. Till next time!